And good morning. It is 11 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time here in space. I'm the Deaf Rider, captain of the starship Pentameter. A year ago, I was kidnapped and transported 1 billion light years into space. For reasons unknown, deep thought and alien intelligence that survives in deep space presented me with this ship and told me to seek my destiny, whatever that might be. It turns out my kidnapping occurred just as a monumental disaster struck my homeworld, and I'm now the last human being alive, seeking to preserve human culture by broadcasting poetry into the galaxy once every week. To cope with the loneliness, I have been learning robotics. Like Dr. Frankenstein, I am attempting to make new friends, but due to a shortage of materials, many of them have a screw loose.
It's X-37, the synthetic first mate here. Our journey through space has taken us to many unusual places where we have seen many unusual life forms. Most recently, we encountered the jellyfish creatures of Ilos 9. They were friendly enough, but incapable of making any real decisions. As a species, they lack backbone. My captain is the last human being in the galaxy. Following the destruction of his home planet with the incredibly boring name of Earth, we drift through space on the starship Pentameter, reciting poems and avoiding the enforcers of the galaxy's spanning Krell Empire, along with their bounty hunters that see the last human as a specimen to be placed in the Krell's Imperial Zoo. This is the communications suite, which doubles as my lab. To pass the time, I employ my planet-sized intellect, solving the galaxy's most pressing scientific dilemmas. X-37, have you finished tidying the communications suite? We'll be going live in a few minutes and I want it spotless. Sure, boss. Everything is shipshape and squared away. Good. You're not conducting any of your weird experiments in there, are you? That's how the lab ended up in needing to be repaired in the first place. No. Everything is fine. You banned me from ever using the communication suite for experiments again, remember? Alright, I'll be there soon. Sucker. Today's experiment involves anti-gravity. I've taken the Deaf Rider's books and treated them with an anti-gravity reagent. He won't be able to put them down. Uh-oh. Something is wrong. I think I'd better leave.
What in deep space happened here? X-37, I thought you said you cleaned this mess up.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Some communications glitch.
I guess I can hide the mess for now. There. 2, 1, and Hello and welcome to the show. No matter what your species, number of heads, or planet of origin, you are all very welcome here. I'm sad to say that the Moon Watchers of Delvar 3 won't be joining us today, but I'm still hoping it's just a phase. Welcome in, one and all. I can see that Daffodil 141 is here with us today already, coming in from the planet of... What planet? What planet indeed? Maybe if I scroll back up the list a bit, which I can't do at the moment. Okay. Portland, the planet of Portland in the galaxy of NSW. Welcome in, Daffodil 141, to our new format show. I'm going to introduce a few things to do with the show, so sit tight, and if you feel like checking out the poetry request list while I go through these few housekeeping things, then please jump in and set yourself up with a poem request or two. Okay, first thing is a little bit of a tour around the place. We have a few elements that are worth pointing out. Over on our left-hand side is the chat. Feel free, if you're visiting with me, to participate in the chat. Send me messages, talk to me, talk to other members of the chat, and have yourself a good time. Over in the top right-hand corner, you can see our punner meter. Should you feel so inclined to add a pun or two to our chat, I will be awarding stars for the puns as they arise, and we'll see if we can get to 5 stars during this week's show. This week we have a featured poet. Our featured poet is Alfred Lord Tennyson. He is the featured poet of this week's show, and we will be highlighting a number of his poems throughout the morning. Our first poem for the day will be our traditional official, unofficial opening poem of the invitation to dinner. But I seem to be having a problem getting the screen to come up. And this went so well in the dress rehearsal last night, but we're getting there little by little. So we'll be bringing our poetry screen up in just a moment. And there we go. Our poetry screen has turned up and is on screen. Welcome in, of course, as we get started with our Poetry by Request show. With recitals by me, your captain, the Deaf Writer. Our first poem, as I said, will be something of a nuisance to find. Invitation to Dinner, there we are. So bringing up our first poem, The Invitation to Dinner, by myself, the Deaf Writer. It occurred to me that poetry and food is something that should be enjoyed and savoured with some wine, and so I ask you out to dine with friends, of course, and I, your host, will beg your company the most, for were you to absent yourself, there's not enough of worldly wealth to compensate me for the grief of losing your good company. And welcome in, welcome in. Our first order of business will be to look at the rules of our show. We have a few rules. Because this is public and interactive, we just remind everybody visiting to please be kind, be respectful. Keep the language clean. We welcome kids and families to this stream. Don't ask for or give away personal information. Don't spam the commands. Don't spam or promote yourself to other viewers. Be curious and willing to join in. Take on a role within our universe. That last one is not compulsory, but we'd love it if you took on a role within our universe and participated in this world that we're creating. Violators of all the other rules, of course, will be banned. We also have a number of commands that are available to you that you can type into the chat. Should you wish to express your appreciation of one of the poems, you can type in !W applause, and our interface will play some applause. We have !W on fire, which will set the screen on fire if you think we're doing particularly well. There are a number of different commands there. You can look them up at any time using the !W command command in the chat. Okay. But we have on fire, place fire, a party, place party, wow, cool, amazing. You can hug one of the other users on screen. I think it's actually W commands. There it is. That brings them up as a list that you can refer to at any time. Thank you, Tim Tam, my very capable mod. Throw, attack, sling, or bomb does some funny things on screen for you and those who are participating. All right, back we go. We've done our first poem, and we have a number of poems in the list, but don't let that hold you back. Please request a poem at any point, and we will boost that up to the very top of the list. These ones are just there in case things fall a bit quiet. For our first selection, we're going to choose Crossing the Bar. Crossing the Bar is a poem by the marvellous Alfred Lord Tennyson, our featured poet of the week. So, Crossing the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It was written in 1889. And we'll bring the whole poem up. I should point out each of these poems, for the most part, most of the poems now, have some original art attached to them that I have prepared for the show. Here we can see Crossing the Bar, the ship, and we can also see the poet himself, Alfred Lord Tennyson, being featured on the cover of this poem. Crossing the Bar. Sunset and evening star, and one call for me. And may there be no moaning of the bar when I put out to sea. But such a tide as moving seems asleep, too full for sound and foam, when that which drew from out the boundless deep turns again for home. Twilight and evening bell and after that the dark, and may there be no sadness of farewell when I embark. For though from out our bourne of time and place the flood may bear me far, I hope to see my pilot face to face when I have crossed the bar. And that was The Crossing of the Bar by Alfred Lord Tennyson, the first of our featured poems today. I hope you enjoyed that. Oops. And back we go. And toggle back into our main screen. Welcome back. What's been happening over in the chat? We've seen the commands demonstrated, and the eagle has been added to the list. Actually, the eagle is already in there, but we will boost that one up and do that one very soon. For right now, though, X37, our local robot, wants to tell us some fun facts about the poet Alfred Lord Tennyson.
Tennyson is very famous as a poet. While you're selecting a poetry request, I thought I'd tell you some interesting facts from my colossal storage and retrieval system. Tennyson coined some very familiar phrases. "'Tis better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. There's not to reason why, there's but to do or die. Nature read in tooth and claw." He wrote poetry before he was even a teenager, in the style of Alexander Pope, Sir Walter Scott, and John Milton. He was a member of a secret society while at Cambridge that called itself the Apostles.
And there were some fun facts about Alfred Lord Tennyson. Most of us were made to read poetry as kids. So I'd love to know what your favourite poem from when you were a child was. Who wrote it? Do you still read poems today? Share in the chat your answers. Let us know. I'd love to know more about your tastes in poetry. In the meantime, we have a third poem. Our third poem is The Charge of the Light Brigade. So away we go with the charge. Whoops, that didn't work. The Charge of the Light Brigade. The Charge of the Light Brigade, written in 1854 by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, boldly they rode and well. Into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell, rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in air, sabring the gunners there, charging an army while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the sabre stroke, shattered and sundered. When they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered. Stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell. All that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made, all the world wondered. Honour the charge they made, honour the Light Brigade, noble 600. And that was a poem from our featured poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson, The Charge of the Light Brigade, with a little piece of original art there that I've included. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's go back and see what's happening in the chat. When I was a kid, I always read a lot of Dr. Seuss. So Dr. Seuss would be a particular favourite of Tim Tam. Nice to hear. Would love to hear some other poets that visitors enjoy. If you happen to be lurking in the background, come on in and say hi. Let us know what planet you're from, who you are, what your favourite poets are. Thanks so much for joining us today. Where are we up to in our program?
Looks like... Hello? This is X37. I was wondering if I might tell you a knock-knock joke.
Oh dear, a knock-knock joke from X37. This could be bad.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Howard.
Howard who?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh dear, that was truly awful. That was truly awful. Not fun at all, X37. Hopefully you'll be able to come up with a better one later on. Let's look at our poem list. Our next listed poem is The Eagle, which has been requested already by Daffodil41. So thank you for that request, Daffodil41. We will jump into that now and do The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Here we are, The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson, written in 1851. A little bit of art there down the bottom that I drew for this particular poem. Here we have The Eagle for Daffodil41. He clasps the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls, he watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. And that was The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Very much on point as a request today. So thank you very much for that one. So we switch back to our main room. Let's see what else is happening at the moment. Oh, we have some more fun facts about Alfred Lord Tennyson. So, get ready for a little bit more of X37, who is assisting me today.
Hi again. While you're selecting a poetry request, I thought I'd tell you some more interesting facts from my colossal storage and retrieval system. Queen Victoria thought Tennyson was a strange-looking man when first she met him, but came to see him as a friend and took great comfort in his poem In Memoriam after her husband's death. Tennyson was known for his emphasis on vowel sounds. He was also known for his rich imagery, metrical variety, and verbal melodies.
I hope you enjoyed hearing those fun facts. We've got some requests added to the list. Fantastic. Very pleased to see those turning up. Another question for those gathered in the chat. What kind of poetry do you prefer? Do you like rhyming poems? Do you like blank verse? Do you like sonnets, free verse, ballads, haiku? What is your preferred form of poetry? Let me know in the chat and let the others know in the chat. Let's share a few ideas together. In the meantime, let's take a look at The Lady of Shalott, which has been requested by Tim Tam. So here we go, The Lady of Shalott. For Tim Tam. On either side the river lie long fields of barley and of rye, that clothe the wold and meet the sky, and through the field the road runs by to many-towered Camelot. And up and down the people go, gazing where the lilies blow, round an island there below, the island of Shalott. Willows whiten, aspens quiver, little breezes dusk and shiver through the wave that runs forever by the island in the river, flowing down to Camelot. 4 grey walls and 4 grey towers overlook a space of flowers, and the silent isle embowers the Lady of Shalott. By the margin, willow-veiled, slide the heavy barges trailed by slow horses and unhailed. The shallop flitteth silken-sailed, skimming down to Camelot. But who has seen her wave her hand, or at the casement seen her stand? Or is she known in all the land, the Lady of Shalott? Only reapers, reaping early, in amongst the bearded barley, hear the song that echoes cheerly from the river winding clearly down to towered Camelot. And by the moon the reaper weary, piling sheaves in uplands airy, listening whispers, 'tis the fairy Lady of Shalott. Part 2. There she weaves by night and day a magic web with colours gay. She has heard a whisper say, a curse is on her if she stay to look down to Camelot. She knows not what the curse may be, and so she weaveth steadily, and little other care hath she, the Lady of Shalott. And moving through a mirror clear that hangs before her all the year, shadows of the world appear, There she sees the highway near, winding down to Camelot. There the river eddy whirls, and there the surly village churls, and the red cloaks of market girls pass onward from Shalott. Sometimes a troop of damsels glad, an abbot on an ambling pad, sometimes a curly shepherd lad, or long-haired page in crimson clad, goes by to towered Camelot. And sometimes through the mirror blue the knights come riding, two and two. She has no loyal knight and true, the Lady of Shalott. But in her web she still delights to weave the mirror's magic sights, for often through the silent nights a funeral with plumes and lights and music went to Camelot. Or when the moon was overhead came two young lovers lately wed. I am half sick of shadows, said the Lady of Shalott. And we can see some of the artwork I've prepared there as we move into part 3. A bow shot from her bower eaves, he rode between the barley sheaves. The sun came dazzling through the leaves and flamed upon the brazen greaves of bold Sir Lancelot. A red cross knight forever kneeled to a lady in his shield that sparkled on the yellow field beside remote Shalott. The gemmy bridle glittered free, like to some branch of stars we see, hung in the golden galaxy. The bridal bells rang merrily as he rode down to Camelot. And from his blazoned baldric slung a mighty silver bugle hung, and as he rode his armour rung beside remote Shalott. All in the blue unclouded weather, thick jewelled shone the saddle leather. The helmet and the helmet feather burned like one burning flame together as he rode down to Camelot. As often through the purple night below the starry clusters bright, some bearded meteor travelling light moves over still Shalott. His broad, clear brow in sunlight glowed, on burnished hooves his war-horse trode. From underneath his helmet flowed his coal-black curls as on he rode down to Camelot. From the bank and from the river he flashed into the crystal mirror. Tirra-lirra by the river sang Sir Lancelot. She left the web, she left the loom, she made 3 paces through the room. She saw the water lily bloom, she saw the helmet and the plume. She looked down to Camelot. Out flew the web and floated wide, the mirror cracked from side to side. The curse is come upon me, cried the Lady of Shalott. And now, the final part of The Lady of Shalott by Alfred Lord Tennyson. In the stormy east wind straining, the pale yellow woods were waning, the broad stream in his banks complaining, heavily the low sky raining over towered Camelot. Down she came and found a boat, beneath a willow left afloat, and round about the prow she wrote, the Lady of Shalott. And down the river's dim expanse, like some bold seer in a trance, seeing all his own mischance, with a glassy countenance did she look to Camelot. And at the closing of the day she loosed the chain, and down she lay, the broad stream bore her far away, the Lady of Shalott. Lying robed in snowy white that loosely flew to left and right, the leaves upon her falling light, through the noises of the night, she floated down to Camelot. And as the boat head wound along the willowy hills and fields among, they heard her singing her last song, the Lady of Shalott. Heard a carol, mournful, holy, chanted loudly, chanted lowly, till her blood was frozen slowly, and her eyes were darkened wholly, turned to towered Camelot. For ere she reached upon the tide the first house by the waterside, singing in her song she died, the Lady of Shalott. Under tower and balcony, by garden wall and gallery, a gleaming shape she floated by, dead pale between the houses high, silent into Camelot. Out upon the wharves they came, knight and burgher, lord and dame, and round the prow they read her name, the Lady of Shalott. Who is this, and what is here? And in the lighted palace near died the sound of royal cheer, and they crossed themselves for fear, all the knights of Camelot. But Lancelot mused a little space. He said, she has a lovely face. God in his mercy lend her grace, the Lady of Shalott. And that was The Lady of Shalott by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Oh, thank you for those claps, Tim Tam. Let's see, and Tim Tam has provided some thoughts. So we'll jump back in here and zoom in on the chat for a moment. I tend to find good rhymes very satisfying. So that's the kind of poetry you like, Tim Tam. Thank you for contributing that. Yes, rhymes are a lot of fun, and I have picked a lot of rhyming poems for this show. We've got a question coming up. Let's have a look at the question. The question is, what's a burgher? A burgher is a member of the town council in medieval times. So if you think of the mayor, also working with the mayor are a group of burghers who have responsibility for administering town affairs. So that's a burgher. Okay. Let's see where we're up to. We need a third poem. You know, I think I might choose one for myself this time, since there don't appear to be any new additions to the list. So why don't we have a look in the poetry book here. Oops. Now I'm doing silly things. There we go. What shall I choose? I think I'd like to hear something a little light-hearted. So for myself, I'm going to choose the Trianti-Wanti Gongolope. So here we go. The Trianti-Wanti Gongolope by C.J. Dennis. The Trianti-Wanti Gongolope was written in 1921 by C.J. Dennis. You can see there my attempt at drawing a Trianti-Wanti Gongolope as well as I could in accordance with the description provided by CJ Dennis, and you can also see my illustration of Mr. Dennis himself there in the background. Let's get underway. There's a very funny insect that you do not often spy, and it isn't quite a spider, and it isn't quite a fly. It's something like a beetle and a little like a bee, but nothing like a woolly grub that climbs upon a tree. Its name is quite a hard one, but you'll learn it soon, I hope. So try anti-wanty, try anti-wanty gongolope. It lives on weeds and wattle gum and has a funny face. Its appetite is hearty, and its manners a disgrace. When first you come upon it, it will give you quite a scare. But when you look for it again, you find it isn't there. And unless you call it softly, it will stay away and mope. So try anti-wanty, try anti-wanty gongolope. It trembles if you tickle it or tread upon its toes. It's not an early riser, but it has a snobbish nose. If you sneer at it or scold it, it will scuttle off in shame. But it purrs, and purrs quite proudly, if you call it by its name. And offer it some sandwiches of sealing wax and soap. So try anti-wanty, try anti-wanty gongolope. But of course, you haven't seen it, and I truthfully confess that I haven't seen it either, and I don't know its address, for there isn't such an insect, though there really might have been, if the trees and grass were purple and the sky was bottle green. It's just a little joke of mine, which you'll forgive, I hope. Now try anti-wanty, try anti-wanty gongolope. And that was the try anti-wanty gongolope, chosen this time by me. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's see what's happening back in the chat. Oh, we've been given a request. Frog111222 has arrived. Welcome in, Frog111222. And The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost has been requested. Fantastic. Looking forward to hearing that one very, very shortly.
Hello, boss. I'd love to do another knock-knock joke.
Oh dear, another knock-knock joke. Okay, X37, let's hear it.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Mint.
Mint who?
Mint to tell you I was coming by.
Oh, another groaner from X37. Dreadful, dreadful, dreadful. I'd like to point out, folks, that you can find us on Discord, where you can get regular notifications of when our show is on. So feel free to check out our Discord server as the opportunity arises. It occasionally comes up in the chat there, so a link to it comes up in the chat. Feel free to follow it. Just click on it and it will take you into the server where you will then be able to get notifications of what we have coming up. And if you're lurking out there, a visitor from space, feel free to give the show a follow. There we go. There we go. Discord at Discord, etc., etc. If you want to follow the show and be given notifications when we're on. Also, follows are greatly appreciated here. If I manage to get 50 followers, one of the things that happens is they boost the show so that there isn't quite so much lag between what you hear me say and when you type in your responses. There's a gap of some, it varies between about 10 and 20 seconds between my speaking and when you actually hear it out there in the wider galaxy. Okay, so we are going to move on to our next poem of the morning. Our next poem of the morning is The Goose, and it will be followed by The Road Not Taken. So I will find The Goose by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And here is The Goose with a little picture that I did that I'm really very proud of an angry goose with a golden egg. Actually, I kind of want to jump back a moment. I forgot to say the date of this particular poem. So this poem was written in 1842 by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Okay. Or at least it was published in 1842. I knew an old wife, lean and poor, her rags scarce held together. There strode a stranger to the door, and it was windy weather. He held a goose upon his arm, he uttered rhyme and reason. Here, take the goose and keep you warm, it is a stormy season. She caught the white goose by the leg, a goose, 'twas no great matter. The goose let fall a golden egg with cackle and with clatter. She dropped the goose and caught the pelf, and ran to tell her neighbours, and blessed herself, and cursed herself, and rested from her neighbours' labours. And feeding high and living soft grew plump and able-bodied, until the grave churchwarden doffed, the parson smirked and nodded. So sitting served by man and maid, she felt her heart grow prouder. But the more the white goose laid, it clacked and cackled louder. It cluttered here, it chuckled there, it stirred the old wife's mettle. She shifted in her elbow chair and hurled the pan and kettle. A quincy choke, thy cursed note! Then waxed her anger stronger. Go, take the goose, and wring her throat. I will not bear it longer. Then yelped the cur and yawled the cat, ran Gaffer, stumbled Gamma. The goose flew this way and flew that, and filled the house with clamour. As head and heels upon the floor they floundered all together, there strode a stranger to the door, and it was windy weather. He took the goose upon his arm, he uttered words of scorning. So keep you cold, or keep you warm, it is a stormy morning. The wild wind rang from park and plain, and round the attics rumbled, till all the tables danced again, and half the chimneys tumbled. The glass blew in, the fire blew out, the blast was hard and harder. Her cap blew off, her gown blew up, and a whirlwind cleared the larder. And while on all sides breaking loose, her household fled the danger. Quoth she, "The devil take the goose, and God forget that stranger." And that was The Goose by Alfred Lord Tennyson. And X37 wants to give us one last couple of fun facts about Alfred Lord Tennyson. So here we go.
Hi again. While you're selecting a poetry request, I thought I'd tell you some more interesting facts from my colossal storage and retrieval system. Tennyson was the first English writer to be given a barony for his work. He was engaged to Emily Selwood in 1827, but postponed the wedding for many years. When he died, Tennyson was buried in the Poets' Corner of Westminster Abbey.
Thanks for those bits of facts, X37. Let's see where we are in the list. We've done The Goose. So our next poem is actually going to be The Road Not Taken, requested by Frog111222. So here we go. Back to our poetry list. And the poem was immediately forgotten by me. What poem were we going to look at? Back again. Have a quick look at the list. Oh, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, of course. A bit foolish. So let's jump through our poem list and find The Road Not Taken by the marvellous Robert Frost. And here we are. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Written in 1916. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. And that was Robert Frost's famous The Road Less Travelled poem. Thank you so much for the request, Frog111222. Feel free to add more requests to our list if you happen to be visiting with us today and have joined us for the show so far. I'll get us back to our usual spot so that we can start looking for our next poems. Let's see what is next on our list today. We need another poetry request. And since we don't have any new ones, I might pick one for myself. I've been wanting to practice Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night, so I'm going to choose that one as our next poem. Oh no, we've got Bright Star by John Keats, requested by Frog111222. There was a bird in that picture of the jungle. I tried to wipe it off my screen. Did you now, Tim Tam? All right. Let's find Mr. John Keats and his poem. Oops, I've gone too far, have I? Yes, I have. Back one page. John Keats, Bright Star. Bright Star was written in 1838 by Mr. John Keats. Let's get it underway. Mr. John Keats being very famous for his love poetry, though this isn't particularly a love poem. Bright star, would I were steadfast as thou art, not in lone splendour hung aloft the night, and watching with eternal lids apart, like nature's patient sleepless eremite. The moving waters at their priest-like task of pure ablution round earth's human shores, or gazing on the new soft-fallen mask of snow upon the mountains and the moors. No, yet still steadfast, still unchangeable, pillowed upon my fair love's ripening breast, to feel forever its soft fall and swell, awake forever in a sweet unrest. Still to hear her tender taken breath, and so live ever, or else swoon to death. And that was Bright Star by John Keats. Thank you so much for that request, Frog111222. It has been much appreciated. Tell me, folks, I'd love to... Oh, thank you for the applause, Tim Tam. I appreciate that a great deal. Those of you who are with us today, lurking or in the chat, tell me, do you find poetry easy to understand? Do you prefer poems that challenge you to interpret them, or do you prefer poems that tell their story clearly? What's your preference when it comes to poetry? I'd love to hear that. We have, coming up, some more poems to finish off a final set, I believe, for our day of poems coming up. So we'll switch back here. Tim Tam has already jumped in with an answer. Let's take a look. I prefer ones that are easy to understand. Yeah, personally, I've always been a big fan of poems that tell stories, but I don't mind occasionally the odd challenging one. Feel free to add to our conversation, folks, if you happen to be out there. Let us know what you like. What are your preferences in poems? Which poets do you enjoy the most, etc.? What style of poetry do you like? Rhyming, haiku, etc. Let us know in the chat. We'd love to know what you think. Before we get too much further, I'd like to promote another streamer. There is a friend of mine, Vintage Muso, who plays fantastic rock and roll music on Tuesday nights, Thursday nights, and Saturday nights here on Twitch. He plays at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time, and he is so very, very good. The rock and roll is extremely entertaining. from the 50s through to the late 80s and 90s. Great songs, great sounds. So a shout out was given to Vintage Muso. Really worth listening to. And he's on tonight, so please check him out. Okay, let's get ready to jump into the next poem.
Hang on. I'd like to do one last knock-knock joke.
One last knock-knock joke. Okay, X37, let's hear your last knock-knock joke.
All right. Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Waddle.
Waddle who?
What'll you give me to stop knocking?
Oh, there we go again. All right. Let's start our final set. What is our final poem going to be? We've got no requests, so I guess I will use my discretion and choose the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Milton? By Dylan Thomas. Okay, so here we go. Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. This poem was written in 1951. And you can see there that I have some art. A man shaking his fist at the dying sun, and also an illustration of the poet Dylan Thomas to be added to our list. Okay, let's get the poem underway. Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning they, do not go gentle into that good night. Good men the last wave by, crying how bright their frail deeds might have danced in a green bay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Wild men who caught and sang the sun in flight, and learned too late they grieved it on its way. Do not go gentle into that good night. Grave men near death who see with blinding sight, blind eyes could blaze like meteors and be gay. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And you, my father, there on the sad height, curse bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And that was Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas, selected by me. Let's finish that and hop back into our poem list. We have time for 2 more poems, so please feel free to make a request and get it added to our list. Really appreciate all the visits and people who have been joining me today. Let's see.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
X37, yes?
It looks like we're being followed by an unidentified starship.
That's a concern. Look, keep an eye on it while I finish the last couple of poems. Then I'll head up to the bridge.
All right.
Well, let's see. We don't have anything here, so I am going to select a poem again. This isn't one that I've done very often, and I'm not sure I do it terribly well. Oh, hang on, we've got a request. The King's Breakfast from Timothy. Let's do that one. The King's Breakfast it is from Tim Tam. The King's Breakfast, requested by Tim Tam, written by A. Milne in 1924. The king asked the queen, and the queen asked the dairymaid, "Could we have some butter for the royal slice of bread?" The queen asked the dairymaid said, "Certainly, I'll go and tell the cow now before she goes to bed." The dairymaid she curtsied and went and told the Alderney, "Don't forget the butter for the royal slice of bread." The Alderney said sleepily, "You'd better tell His Majesty that many people nowadays like marmalade instead." The dairymaid said, "Fancy," and went to Her Majesty. She curtsied to the Queen and she turned a little red. "Excuse me, Your Majesty, for taking of the liberty, but marmalade is tasty if it's very thickly spread." The Queen said, "Oh," and went to His Majesty. "Talking of the butter for the royal slice of bread, many people think that marmalade is nicer. Would you like to try a little marmalade instead?" The king said, "Bother," and then he said, "Oh, dearie me." The king sobbed, "Oh, dearie me," and went back to bed. "Nobody," he whimpered, "could call me a fussy man. I only want a little bit of butter for my bread." The Queen said, There," and went to the dairymaid. The dairymaid said, There," and went to the shed. The cow said, There, I didn't really mean it. Here's milk for his porringer and butter for his bread." The Queen took the butter and brought it to His Majesty. The king said, "Butter, eh?" and bounced out of bed. "Nobody," he said, as he kissed her tenderly. "Nobody," he said, as he slid down the banisters. "Nobody, my darling, could call me a fussy man, but I do like a little bit of butter for my bread." And there we have a request for Tim Tam, The King's Breakfast. Get back to our list. And it looks like we have a request from Frog111222, The Cats by H.P. Lovecraft. Great. I do enjoy that little poem. H.P. Lovecraft, as well as being a horror writer, occasionally delved into poetry, and this is one of his occasional poems. The Cats by Mr. H.P. Lovecraft, written in 1925. Here we are with The Cats written in 1925 by H.P. Lovecraft. Babels of blocks to the high heavens towering, flames of futility swirling below, poisonous fungi in brick and stone flowering, lanterns that shudder and death lights that glow, black monstrous bridges across oily rivers, Cobwebs of cable by nameless things spun, catacomb deeps whose dank chaos delivers streams of live fetor that rots in the sun. Colour and splendour, disease and decaying, shrieking and ringing and scrambling insane, rabbles exotic to stranger gods praying, jumbles of odour that stifle the brain. Legions of cats from the alleys nocturnal, howling and lean in the glare of the moon, screaming the future with mouthings infernal, yelling the burden of Pluto's red rune. Tall towers and pyramids ivied and crumbling, bats that swoop low in the weed-cumbered streets, bleak broken bridges or rivers whose rumbling joins with no voice as the thick tide retreats. Belfries that blackly against the moon totter, caverns whose mouths are by mosses effaced, and living to answer the wind and the water, only the lean cats that howl in the waste. And that was The Cats by Frog 111222. Thank you for that request, Frog 111222. A great poem and one that I enjoy a great deal.
Hello, mere mortal. It is I, Deep Thought, the greatest intellect in the universe.
You again? I've got nothing to say to you. The last time we met, you kidnapped me.
I rescued you, human. I gave you this ship. You should be thanking me.
You knew the Earth was going to blow up?
Not as such, no.
Okay then, why are you here?
I came to request a poem.
You're kidding.
No, I never joke.
I see. All right, I'll play. What poem would you like to hear?
I would like to hear a poem of depth and power. One that will challenge and bring forth the deepest of the deep thoughts for which I am named.
Yes?
Recite for me The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll.
Surely you're not serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Right. Okay, the Jabberwocky coming right up. But before we do that, there are some comments in the chat. Let's have a look at what's happening in the chat. Besides, I don't mind ticking off Deep Thought too much. Lovecraft was not a cat person, and neither is Frog 111222. Ah, well, we're not cat people in this household either. Though I don't particularly hate them. We have a pup, we have a dog, and he's awesome. Okay, where were we? Oh yeah, we were going to do a poem for Deep Thought before he gets himself in a lather. Let's see, where do we have Lewis Carroll and the Jabberwocky? The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll, written in 1871. Away we go. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tumtum tree and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabtious day, Callooh, Callay, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. And that was The Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll for Deep Thought. There, I read you your poem. I want you to answer a question for me, Deep Thought.
Assuredly. No, you will never need to pay that outstanding library fine now that the Earth is gone.
That wasn't what I was going to ask.
It wasn't? Are you sure?
Quite sure.
Well, there's nothing can be done about it now, I guess. Ask away.
Why did you rescue me?
I intended to rescue one of the greatest poets who ever lived.
I'm a literature teacher.
Yes, there was a clerical error.
Who were you actually after?
Dorothy Parker.
Dorothy Parker is a woman.
You all look the same to me.
So all this, the entire reason I'm alive is because of a clerical error?
That's right. No use crying over spilled eggs. Anyway, you're about to have company. Goodbye for now.
Hey, wait.
Uh-oh. Looks like I do have company.
Surrender, weak human-type creature. I am a representative of the mighty Krell Empire.
Fancy running into you again. It's a small universe. I mean, my apologies. I know you don't like that word.
Are you referring to my diminutive size, human?
Heaven forfend.
Because I'll have you know, I'm the tallest member of my brood.
Right.
And just because you are abnormally tall, you don't get to look down on I mean, you don't get to...
Minimize?
No.
Belittle?
No.
Overlook?
No. You don't get to disrespect us. We are the Krell, rulers of almost the entire known universe. And as I said, you are under arrest.
You people tried to arrest me last week, but I wasn't even inside your jurisdiction. What's the charge?
Escaping custody. You are now wanted in most of civilized space.
Wanted for what?
Wanted as an exhibit in the Emperor's new zoo.
Looks like I'm going to have to deal with another Imperial bounty hunter, folks. So I'm going to have to end things here. If all goes well, I'll see you all next week for more poems and puns. Let me bring up the credits and say goodnight before I deal with this small-minded pipsqueak of an interstellar menace.
Hey, I heard that.
Here are the credits. The original poems by the deaf writer are copyright and cannot be used without permission. All other poetry is in the public domain. The artwork on the site is licensed via Envato, GameDeveloperStudio.com or Microsoft. Poem illustrations are original works created by the deaf writer and subject to copyright. All sounds are licensed from Envato. The recording of Gymnopody is provided royalty-free by museopen.org. This production is copyright 2025. No Krell were harmed during the production of this stream. And with that, I bid you all so long, farewell, and thanks for all the fish. We'd love to hear from you, what you think of our new format and the silliness that has ensued today. But in the meantime, I think it's time we tried to outrun the Krell Enforcer. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll catch you next time, assuming we can get away.